10 measures of Rachmaninoff's Prelude Opus 32, number 3 in E major. This is a piece of unending virtuosity and vitality, joy, and personal self-expression in the fullest degree possible. How I hear this piece is Rachmaninoff coming out of his own psychological darkness and depression and emerging into the light of his blooming creativity, endless expression, and the thrill of being alive again. And I'll tell you more about that later. This piece now in the key of E major, such a joyful, triumphant key in itself. How does he begin? Like this. Let's look at that. What are those notes? Starting the E. And if we had one more note, it would play the full triad broken, the notes of the E major tonality. But instead of finishing that low E, here he is taking the G sharp, third scale degree, and going up, guess what, 5 octaves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That high up, he is taking that third scale degree of G sharp and exploding. I hear this like a timpani beginning, da-da-dum, and catapulting that third scale degree G sharp up a distance of 5 octaves and landing with both hands in octaves. With that motive, G sharp, E, E, E. What does that tell you? That tells you I am in E major, without a doubt. There's no ambiguity here at all. In fact, he's so happy to be in E major, he has to say the note 3 times. Then he takes that tonality and takes the octave and the 5th, broken, exciting, it's a tremolo, it's vibrating with excitement, and over that he takes the right hand and takes this 5th, B and F sharp. And you put those together. You know what I hear? I hear orchestral here. I've been thinking about this piece a lot. What instrument would that be? And I hear French horn here. A trumpet call, a hunting call, come into action. Here it goes, the chase begins. And instead of a 4-note motive, he abbreviates it into just 2. Same 2 notes, G sharp, E, staccato. And that is your short, long motive. And then comes a series of cascading, spilling over little tiny 16th notes in both hands all around the E major scale. So what is he doing here? He's giving us 3 different motives, rhythmic motives. The first being yada, running walk, and then short, 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 long, motive 2. And the third rhythmic motive, short, long, short, long. Okay, 3 rhythmic motives. And he's also giving us the tonality. So he's giving 2 indicators here just by using a rhythmic fragment. Very interesting. That's how he liked to compose these preludes. Short little fragments of rhythmic and melodic elements. And he's got them both. The tonality of E major and the different rhythmic motives that he's going to use all the way through the piece, and they're all given to us immediately. So let's take a look now at our measures 4 and 5 at the right hand. Here's the tonic E. The B, the A, the G sharp, and that's clearly the descending 5-finger pattern of E major. The other hand, the left hand is way up here. Hands are all up here. What does that mean? Well, it's reaching, it's so high up. What would that be orchestrally? Instruments that are high, piccolos, flutes, high violins, everything's high, everything. Why? Because I think the vibrational frequency of a higher pitch, it's spinning faster. It's the energy of it. And he can't help himself. He's up high. Both hands are just, can't wait. Let me play. Here's the left hand. Did you hear how fun that was? Just the ending of that, if I block, lovely. Thirds, broken thirds, going down the scale of E major. Starting, here's this 5-finger pattern. You hear both hands then take turns, articulating the 5-finger descending E major pattern. Let's put the hands together slowly here so you can hear how they complement and merge together all within the E major descending scale. He's saying we're E major. We're going to be using the scale degrees also as one of the compositional templates of the piece. So right away, one more element for us. B, A, G sharp, F sharp, E. Now the soprano's turn. B, A. And they end on the E, one octave apart. That's beautiful. Did you notice the rhythm of the last right hand? Yan da 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 da, yan da da dun da da dun. That's going to be all the way through the piece. Starting on line 2. Right now, let me play the soprano, just the upper melodic line. And listen to this rhythm. This is measure 6. How much energy is in that? Then the bass goes the opposite direction in contrary motion with these notes. And it does just that, 3 times that motive. But that's not all. The next note is a G sharp. So what are those? Well, interval of a 6th, 5th, 4th, 3rd. But that's not all. He's going to take those and double them like this. In blocked form, this is what the left hand full part in redistribution is doing. The tenor is holding these notes. They're quarter notes. The bass is starting on that same E, but playing all 16th notes like this. And when you put that all together, this is what you get. It's difficult. Big, big, big reaches. Now what I'd like to do now is to put the outer melodic line of the soprano and the tenor together like this so you can hear. I'm starting with just the nucleus melodic outline, and then we're going to fill in with all the other notes that are here. But it's very helpful to hear it like this first. This is measure 6. The energy building. There's a little crescendo there. And then what comes out of that is the last element that he's going to use. It's a series of quarter note chords, full chords in each hand, and I hear these in pairs like this. This is measure 9. Gorgeous chord. The interesting thing here is the moving harmonic changes happen on beats 2 and 4. 2, 3, 4. What happens on beats 1 and 3? They keep this chord. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. What is that chord? Well, it's a C sharp minor. That's a clue. C sharp minor is the relative minor of our home key E major. Is he trying to modulate to the relative minor? We'll find out in just a minute. But first I want to show you what I'm looking at here. This is my page 1 of my working copy of this 3-page chart of the piece. This one is all marked up for the lesson. What you get in your chart supply looks like this. Black and white and pure, lots and lots of open space. And you can get your chart from my website as a digital download, sallychristianmusic.com. Put your working copy over here. Let's go back to my working copy. You can see what can happen when you start to work on a piece and all the marks that one ends up inevitably putting in one's own personal copy. So what do you see? First of all, this is a very wide piece of paper. This is cardstock on the 11-inch by 17-inch wide format. That's the horizontal landscape. And I re-engraved the entire piece. Exactly the same notes that you'll find in any other edition, but it doesn't come looking like this. This is the only one in the world that looks this way because I made it up. And I couldn't believe what an incredible improvement it was for me in getting my mind around the piece and giving me a format for how to practice. And that's what this lesson is going to be based on, how to practice this piece in sections. So the first thing we see is System 1 was our opening material with our 3 rhythmic motives and our closing 2 measures of cascading pyrotechnical 16th notes around the E major descending scale, leading to System 2 with that wonderful left-hand bass part of constant 16th notes, ending with the 2-measure cadence of chords. And then we thought we were ending in C sharp minor, we don't know for sure. He does the entire thing again. System 3 is exactly the same, with the exception of 3 measures here instead of 2 here, and System 4. You can even see here with these pairs how similar the material is, and we are actually going to find out how very, very similar, just a few little changes to end our first page. What I'd like to do is to play for you now, hands together, starting measure 6 with this beautiful part here, and I was asking myself, what does this remind me of, this part? It starts pianissimo. Crescendo, crescendo to the chords. Loping maybe? Do-lu-lu-lu-lu-lu-lu-lu. Maybe an engine. Whatever it is, it's metoric. It's got that rhythm, this loping, and then against it are all the syncopations of the right hand. This has got to feel like 2 distinct energies and 2 distinct rhythms in your body when you play it. Here it is, as written. Exactly like the beginning. This time instead of starting on the E, he drops it down a third to the C sharp. Same idea, C sharp, octave fifth, and this fifth. And instead of the G sharp E, he's keeping the G sharp and dropping down a fifth. And now the part slowly. I really like to block. Then measure 14, soprano. Like E major, couldn't it? That's E major. But this, definitely C sharp minor. The other part, scale degrees. B major triad. Now one thing I'd like to show you here that I spent hours, weeks, months, years trying to put into my fingers and my brain and my ears. Years and ears, how appropriate. Because that's how long it takes to distinguish and really solidify in your memory exactly what comes where. So by being able to compare, your system 1 measures 4 and 5, and your system 3 measures 14, 15, and 16. This is where all of the careful work must happen on your page 1 of the places. I'm going to show you measure 4 in the soprano in the right hand. Starts like this. Measure 14 starts like this. Now, measure 4 continues like this. And measure 14 does identically the same thing. That can be confusing. The first time it goes down. The second time it goes up to the C sharp. Also has its similarities and its differences. I will leave that up to you for your further exploration of comparing the two. But do go back and forth. In this edition, it's very easy to see them. They line up so nicely for you. So now we're at the System 4, bottom of page 1. And instead of this as your melodic outline of measure 6, it's almost the same thing. Just that one, instead of the B, B sharp. So your accompaniment in measure 17 here is going to be, and that has such a completely different feeling to it, doesn't it? I hear such spookiness and darkness in that. This sounds powerful difference. So hands together now slowly. Bottom system, We are in C sharp minor. Take the right hand alone. Because what's on the bottom? This pedal point of the G sharp. And look what's in the bass. Also is anchored on the G sharp. This is very interesting. One and two and so the 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, but the other notes are rooted on G sharp. There's a lot of G sharp in here. He's doing this on purpose. What's coming is going to amaze you, building around this G sharp. So here, let's see how we get to the end of page 1. What is that? That's a G sharp. The rhythm. One of our rhythmic motives. So the chords there in measure 20 are beats 2, beat 4, beat 2. Well, that was exactly how it happened the first time in measure 9, but the difference is this chord. Modulating to here. That's so beautiful. The other difference is that same da-da-da motive that we have, he's doing in the cadence here, like this. Right there, da-da-da. And another one. These chords, I just want to say one more thing, they are in pairs. And I hear them like that. I hear them like an accordion. I hear them connected. And they are going to be all the way through the piece too, as one of the devices that he's referring to. It's just the most unbelievable writing. And now I'm going to show you maybe my favorite part of your chart package, the satellite view. I made this up. And this is your color version. You get a black and white. I'm going to show you, I actually printed this one out from my home printer. These are your regular 8.5 by 11 sheets. And I just butted them up back to back. You can also print them on the larger version if you like. And it will look like this. And this is very wonderful. You could actually read these notes and study it and work from it. And I just taped it in the back with some clear heavy tape like that. It folds together. It's the same size as your chart working copy pages. But I'm going to use this one for the lesson right now because I want to show you how I grouped the entire 3-page piece on these sections. The opening material in E major I put in this pink box. And then the repetition of material, I just didn't put a color on because the material is pretty much the same, it's just in the relative minor. And then right here, where we ended with those declamatory G sharp chords, yum ba ba bum, it's a menemoso. This is your top of page 2. But what's coming here, and I put this in the green box, is all a modulation that's going to take us to the B. And this enormous blue box of 9 measures, this is the overview of the piece I'm giving you right now, so you know where we're leading in the lesson, is going to be all developmental on a B pedal point, not a B major, but just a B, the 5th of our home key of E. He never leaves our home key except to go to the relative minor here. This is the fifth of E, recapitulation, almost identical material, almost, as your beginning. And then the rest of the piece, your coda, never leaves E major. So we're going to now look at what's coming. Spectacular bit of composing here. Page 2 of your working copy here. These chords, Menomoso. Just enjoy those chords. Same idea happens here. We have the as the chord that stays the same, and these as the moving chords. It's beautiful. You could spend a long time on that. But hear these connected. I like to shape it musically. And the way I think that's valid because it's the only time in the piece where it stops at all. 2 measures of Menomoso, it's like catching our breath. Because what's coming is this in the both hands way up here, this glissando top writing, G sharp and C sharp. Say to yourself, is that a concluding 5-1 cadence in C sharp minor? It could be, but you know what he's doing? His genius comes to full bloom here. This C sharp is doing double duty in measure 24. It's the first beat. It is closing the Menomoso section. Could be the absolute closing C sharp minor resolution, but it isn't. It's actually serving also as the 3rd scale degree of A major. And in this marvelous tempo 1, now we get opening material again, like this. And then he does. So that idea of the timpani at the beginning, he's using to bring us down by thirds from the C sharp to the A down a third, down a third F sharp, down a third D, and down a third B. And that's the modulatory outline of this green box section. Right here. That's what's really going on with your big pivot notes. It's a great big descending line by thirds, all on these wonderful octaves in the bass. So I'm going to play for you the soprano now in measure 24. We know we've got one of the rhythmic motives being repeated again in 2 measure phrases. Here's the first one on A major. Dropping down a third. Now notice, he could have repeated it exactly like this, but that wouldn't be as interesting. He's going to move the alto line. Very beautiful. Try to bring that out if you can. Instead of here, he's jumping way up to here. Very predictable and coming down. Now, this is the part I can't wait to share with you what he's doing in this bass line. One of the characteristics of this part here to me is marching figure. It's almost like marching to victory. Da bum 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 ba-da-da. And there's that one rock to close. Now, did you notice what I did with my body here? Da dee da dee da dee da dee. And the reason I'm doing that is because that's what we have to do with just our left hand. We have to actually split it into two parts, because there are two parts in this bass line. The offbeat chords in measure 24 are sounding like this, and see if you can hear what he's outlining. These are all offbeats. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Okay, what was it? A major scale, descending scale degrees. Now the other part, the beat notes, here's the genius, more genius. Believe it or not, he is duplicating that motive that the soprano did in the regular tempo in augmentation on the beat notes. That means it's twice as slow. So what you really have is, isn't that clever? Now, to demonstrate what this bass part is really doing and how complicated it is, I'm going to play it two different ways for you. I'm first going to play the offbeat chords, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, as forte, and the beat note chords I'm going to play as piano, and then I'm going to reverse it and listen how completely different it sounds. Okay, here it is with the strong part on the offbeats and quiet on the beats. Now let's reverse it and make the beat notes strong and the offbeats quiet. Another way you can do it is to redistribute and do it like this. Bring the beat notes up an octave and play it with the other hand. These are all the different ways that I practice this in learning the piece. You can do the same procedure with the remaining second and third phrases. I'm not going to take the time in the lesson to do that because we have so much more to cover in this piece. But I will play the hands together to finish up this green box of modulatory material so you can hear how we get to the B that begins the blue box. I'm going to play it a little slower than the regular tempo so that you can more clearly hear how all these parts together are complementing each other. Okay, starting with measure 24. Oh, and you can also hold with the sostenuto pedal this C sharp downbeat like this. Because it's a whole note, and that way it will still sound when you continue on. It's like marching to victory. What's coming? Oh, this is just so marvelous. I've been waiting for the whole lesson to show you this part. This is 9 measures. And look at my music here. You'll see some colors on here. This is what I do when I study any piece that has more than 2 voices. And this has 4 voices, 5 voices, sometimes 6 voices. I always take the yellow for the alto and I circle the moving notes. Tenor is turquoise, green is bass, soprano is pink. You can go ahead, take a screenshot of this if you like, and transfer colored pencil markings to your copy. You can print out as many of these as you like. And you can have a bunch of transparencies, some with color voice coding, some maybe just with harmonic section notations to yourself. Mark it up as many ways as you want. But now I'm going to show you, I really just marvel at this piece, because this entire section now is built on a pedal point with the B, rooting it for this entire 9 measures. It's B again and again and again. It's also offbeat phrases, which makes such interest, and it always keeps us on our feet. It gives a breathless quality to it when it starts that idea. Now I'm going to play for you first just the left hand, the bass, outer anchor notes. This is just extraordinary. I'm going to be playing primarily tenor notes. The soprano is going to have if I put those together, these are just the outer melodic skeletal outline of where he's going with this. We'll fill it in again, as I did with the previous page. But I found this so helpful in my understanding. Marvelous writing. Now, the soprano has chords here. This is difficult, very full writing. And there's an alto line in here, which you want to bring out. You can analyze that. You can even hear thirds here. Remember I said it's some 5 voices, 6 voices? There are thirds on the upper parts. These full 4-note chords. You really have this. It's not written that way. I'm having to decipher these things out with my eyes. My fingers don't even know fingerings for this. But I know that part's in there, and I wanted you to know too. You can do the same thing with the lower 2. So you can see how complicated this is. Now, here comes the bass. And listen to how he is interweaving all of this with continual 16th notes. And just like that idea, here it is. Measure 31. You need to bring out these moving notes. Did you hear the rhythm of that? I have to count this for you. It's that important. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Because the right hand's off of that. This is anchoring rhythmically, and everything is off. That idea dot dee is in here. Now, this part in the left hand I'm going to block. This is the second part of 2 long systems. I think this may be the most challenging, most difficult part of the entire piece. You know, this piece, I think Rachmaninoff was having so much fun with his enormous pianistic gifts that he could play something like this. He could think of it, he could hear it orchestrally, he could write it down, and then he could play it. You know, he spent most of the last 20 years of his life performing. This is one of the last things that he wrote for solo piano. This and the Corelli variations that followed, but he was such a superlative pianist, and who can blame him for not wanting to perform? My grandmother actually heard Rachmaninoff play. Can you imagine that? It's just an amazing bit of my own personal legacy with my family. Coming from a very musical family, music was valued always in our family, both of my parents. So now I'm going to play for you what's in this last system on your page 2. The soprano has this melodic line leading to the B, and it repeats. And then up to the D sharp, and then up to the F sharp, and then, and that's how it ends. Scampering up. So, the bass also has its 3 phrases that go, I'm just going to block these because, and I'll call out the pitches that you'll want to hear. D sharp. That's in there. And then to finish, of course. And that last measure is especially difficult because the hands are pulling apart in contrary motion of exceeding difficulty. I can block the left hand right here at that last measure. You can analyze those intervals yourself. That's a great way because that builds in fingering for you. I can block the right hand too. How that's really written, little tiny waves, tiny little slurs. And together the hands. Together here, and for 1. That's just a tour de force in itself. And now we're going to page 3. Our recapitulation. We've arrived back home to E major. And what is he giving? Of course, our opening material. But the same thing that he did on our green box system on the second repetition of that material, he's moving the alto instead of, which would be so frankly boring. He's not going to ever do that. He's going to move the middle parts. So bring that up. And then. Oh, this is just so wonderful. The left hand has this marching motive again that he loved to use in this piece. And it sounds like this. This is just, to me, this is the most glorious, generous, magnificent, arcing two-measure phrase. Listen to this, how he constructs this. You can hold your sostenuto pedal again on this low E whole note. These chords. And what's on the bottom? The anchored fifth of our home key. And then continuing on, we have, and the two hands together. Those are definitely two different instruments. One is doing short, long, and the other's doing da-da-da, da-da-da. So he's giving our two rhythmic motives together there. Think of it, I think of these actually as trombones. Do-do-do, do-do-do, almost sliding on them. If you think that way, you can project that maybe, if you like that idea. Oh, this is just wonderful. I'm starting measure 43. Dee-da-da, right at the end to close. And that is the longest 7-measure system at the top of page 3. I decided to put all those 7 measures together and then just to leave these 3 here because this is new material. This is all one giant E 7-measure phrase. E in the bass. He liked that idea, didn't he? So you can practice just those 7 measures. If you only have a half hour to practice, go to that. Go to that top system of page 3. Spend your time wisely when you practice. I always tell my students, you don't always want to play your practicing rather from the very beginning to the very end every single day. You can, but in addition, break it up. Take your hardest part. In fact, what I do, and I've done it for years, I know walking down in my practice room the part that I need to work on the most. I always know it. And that's what I start with. And then I play the whole piece through, and then I go back to that part again. So I've actually done it 3 times instead of 1. And that's a really powerful way of getting the most out of your practice time. It's quality, not quantity. So here we are now, ending with these beautiful 2-part motives, short, long, and running walk. Then the bass has these, again, marching octaves, all octaves, but they're staccato. Listen to the line of this left hand alone. This is starting measure 47. What's that? I thought we were in E major. Well, he's raised it. He started with an E sharp there. Isn't that clever? He could have just done the E major scale, but he put in 2 half steps here and here. Now get this. That's a B sharp and a B natural. Up to tempo. You can tell I've done that a few times. And that's what you need to be able to do, hands alone for memory. Now the other part, the soprano here, has our same da-da-da, da-da-da-da, da-da-da-dee, da-da-da, bum 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 ba-da-da. And if you can say a rhythm like that, then you really know it. And this is what it sounds like with notes. What was that? Now, reference to your 4-note motive of the beginning. Look what he has here. He's got an accent on the B, accent on the A, accent on the G sharp. Why did he accent those? Because descending 5-finger pattern. He's wrapping up here. It's getting ready to come to our coda. Now, this is also, again, if I split the right hand in redistribution, this becomes now, actually I'll play the alto part alone first. It's really 2 altos. Listen to this. This is complicated. Put that together with the top part of the soprano. This is what the right hand has to do. And you put everybody together, and this is what we have. Measure 47. To say goodbye, our coda. Here is one last look at our satellite view. We're coming here. I didn't put color on this box because it's all E major, and we know that this is all E major from here to the end, but this is how you'll want to think of it in your practicing. That's that last little passage I just did. This piece ends quietly. It's like he said everything he needed to say. He got all of that extraordinary energy and passion expressed, and now he can come down, bring us down gently to end this piece. I'm going to start with the bass, and we start with an octave. This is again repeating the E tonality. We have the bass holding a whole note, and the tenor and as written, see, I have to hold that 5th finger down of the bass while I play the tenor part, and I have to articulate ya da da dee da da dee da da, those articulations. And the soprano, our short long motive. And together. Pulling with my arms. You always want to use your arms on these things. It's the only way you can really get the grip and articulate them. Now we come to 4 more chords, a final reference to the closing cadence that we had on page 1 with those offbeat moving chords. Here they are. I'm just going to play the outer outline. Very beautiful moment here in the piece of the pair of this, this. How gently he brought us down, right there. Measure 55, our final system, E, E, and E. Now this is just absolutely a stunning bit of writing, and I need to show you my music. You may want to transfer these markings on one of your copies. This is just, you know, he didn't end with this creative outpouring in this piece. It just didn't stop all the way to the very end. What he's doing here is layering on 5 parts. The soprano I put in the pink, the alto in the yellow, the tenor here in the turquoise, and then we have a double bass part. So let's break that down now and see what that sounds like. This is your coda. Short, long, short, long, short, long. Goodbye, goodbye, cuckoo, cuckoo. That's, I also hear this, I almost hesitated to say this in the lesson, the cuckoo, but you know, when I was in Italy in the Tuscany area years ago, I actually heard the cuckoo bird, and it sounds just like that. Cuckoo, cuckoo. And then when it gets excited, it goes up a pitch and goes faster. Dee-do, 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 dee-do. It's really amazing, the little cuckoo bird. So anyway, he's taking the soprano with the cuckoo on the G sharp, just like he started the piece. And then he brings it down, and what is that? It's an inversion. Coming down the E major triad. The alto, same 2 notes, but it stays and says it 3 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And if I put those 2 together, this redistribution is what soprano and alto sound like. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Isn't that great? Now the tenor has, of course, he can't leave it alone. He's got to see the E major scale again, but this time it's in a huge descending E major scale, like this. Distance of 2 octaves, and those are all syncopated. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. Now, if you feel the syncopation, you're going to put that kind of into it. It has a different energy when it's syncopated. So now let's redistribute and put these 3 voices together. This is not how it's written. This is actually all written for the right hand, but I want to show you the stunning imagination of what these 3 parts do. Now, the other part, the bass. What you have is that's the bass, lower bass. The upper bass has a whole lot of repeated notes, but I do like to hear this as a separate part, bass 1 and bass 2. I think if he were orchestrating this, he would definitely have it between maybe 2 different bassoons, or maybe an oboe and a bassoon to highlight this. And here would be the upper bass part. And this may not be so interesting, but this is what it is. And I played that because he's just taking the E, the C sharp, the G sharp, and if you redistribute that, which I highly recommend, you can then listen to dynamics. And let me redistribute, and I'm going to play the lower bass part a little bit louder. It's not written this way, but it's good to hear it this way. Now let's put everybody together here and listen to these cuckoos. See how hard that is. I hear these as goodbye, goodbye, see you soon. Maybe it has that kind of character to it. As they were coming out of here, a 5-finger pattern. Just a stunning, stunning piece. So I would like to close with what I had started to talk about earlier in the piece of coming out of the psychological darkness and into the light. And this happened to Rachmaninoff when he wrote in the year 1895 his first symphony in D minor, and it was premiered in St. Petersburg. It was a disaster. It was just not understood, it was poorly received, and Rachmaninoff fell into a very deep and long depression. It lasted 3 years. And fortunately, destiny had it that he wasn't going to stop writing. He couldn't give in to this depression, even though there was nothing he could do about it. He met a very renowned hypnotist, Mr. Dahl, who was renowned, and this hypnotist gave Rachmaninoff the message over and over and over: you will write again. It will be of excellent quality, and your music will expand to your greatest abilities. You will write again. And he did. He came out of the depression, and I think the floodgates were lifted. If you've ever been in a depression, I certainly have. When you finally come out of it, you feel like you've been reborn. You feel like you've been given your life back again. And you appreciate it more. Anybody that's had a near-death experience, either in a car accident or in an emotionally traumatic event, and you survive, you always look at life a little bit different from that moment on. You don't take things as seriously, the little things that don't really matter in life. And you get in touch with your greater values. Why are you here? What is your unique potential and destiny anyway? And Rachmaninoff so got in touch with that. He couldn't help it. And here he was, in his full bloom, the floodgates open, and he, from that moment on, you can access that energy. He accessed it with this piece. And the difference between coming out of Prelude number 2, that was so dark and introspective, was like that. His own depression, and bursting into the light with Prelude number 3 in E major. I hope this has been helpful for you. Thank you, and enjoy practicing this piece and making it a part of every molecule in your being. Thank you.